Hello, I'm Ericka McComas Church, and I'm one of the district mental health counselors with Warren County Public Schools. I'm one of several people that help reduce the barriers for students to be successful during the academic day. And we do that by assuring that their social and emotional needs are met and helping them learn skills to just cope and deal with everyday life and problem solving and things like that. And today I'm coming to you because I want you to know that we're still here to support you and your children during this time of distant learning. And I also want to talk to you about checking in on your child during the COVID-19 pandemic. The ongoing stress, fear, and grief and uncertainty created by COVID-19 pandemic can wear anyone down, but children and teens may have an especially tough time coping emotionally. So check in with your child often and watch and listen for signs that they are struggling. And don't forget that there are people here, like myself, to help. And keep in mind that adolescents and young adults may try to hide their struggles because of fear, shame, or a sense of responsibility to avoid burdening others, especially their parents that they know are already very stressed. Younger children may not know how to talk about these feelings, and they may show them in changes in behavior or development. Circumstances surrounding COVID are challenging for most people. Many preteens and teens are particularly impacted. Some are missing things that they have really been looking forward to and working hard at, like their last year of elementary school, or travel ball, or cheerleading tryouts, or maybe it's a role in the school play. Young children are missing school lunches, being the line leader, or their kindergarten year that is full of so many first experiences of being a big kid, which makes it even more difficult to recognize when there's a problem. Therefore, many kids, especially our teens and preteens, may seem down, disappointed, frustrated, or even depressed. It can be extremely challenging as a parent to know the difference between this typical teen moodiness, COVID moodiness, or sadness and depression. Sadness is a normal part of the human existence, and right now, youth have a lot that may be making them feel sad. They may feel isolated from their friends. They may be missing their normal routines and worrying about whether things will ever go back to normal. It's important that we work together to recognize the signs of stress in your children. Signs of stress and mental health changes are not the same for every child or teen, but there are some common symptoms that we can definitely talk about. While it's hard to be away from good friends, many teens can fill that void using social media or video calls to connect with them. They cannot replicate as easily, though, these passive socializations that happen during a typical school day. People they chat with in class or in the hallway, but they're not as close enough with them to have contact with them outside of school. The feeling of walking down a crowded hallway and hearing all the conversations going on around them, or laughter filling a gymnasium before school, or those shared moments of laughing together at something silly that happens at school. So sadness and disappointment makes sense right now. Sadness and depression can look very different depending on the age of your child. So infants and toddlers and young children, such as preschool or kindergarten, you're more likely to see fussiness and irritability, startling and crying more easily, and more difficult to console. Falling asleep and waking up more during the night. There may be feeding issues such as frantic nibbling or reflux, or they may even have some issues with constipation or loose stools, or complaints of stomach pain. Separation anxiety. When we start to feel anxious or sad or even fearful, especially as a young child, we tend to put ourselves closer to the people that make us feel safe. So you might see some more clinginess or withdrawal or hesitation to explore because they want to stay close to you. There may be some hitting or signs of frustration, such as biting, or more frequent or intense tantrums. You may see some regression with development as well, such as bedwetting after they've been potty trained for some time. Urgently express needs while seeming unable to feel satisfied. You'll see this a lot with food. Conflict and aggression or themes like illness throughout the day. Older children and adolescents, the signs and symptoms that you might see would be changes in mood that are not usual for your child, such as ongoing irritability, feelings of hopelessness or rage, and frequent conflicts with friends and family. Changes in behaviors such as stepping back from personal relationships. If you're ordinarily an outgoing kid, starts to show little interest in texting or video chatting their friends, for example, this may be cause for concern. A loss of interest in activities that they previously enjoyed. Like, did your child love listening to music and all of a sudden they've stopped wanting to play guitar or to listen to music? Or did they love playing video games and now they want to get rid of their games? A hard time falling asleep or starting to sleep all the time. So you'll see one or the other, or sometimes both. Changes in weight or eating patterns, such as never being hungry or eating all the time. Problems with memory, thinking, or concentration. Less interest in schoolwork. A big drop in academic effort. They're just not wanting to log into their Google Meets. They're not checking their classrooms. They're failing, and maybe they've always been an A/B student. Changes in appearance, such as a lack of basic hygiene. I'm hearing this a lot from our older kids that I've had some contact with since the distance learning. There's not a lot for them to look forward to or to get up and get ready for. And so that really can affect their mood. And within reason, we start to see this, decline in grooming. So that's something to look for as well. An increase in risky or reckless behavior. So particularly with our older kids, more middle school and high school, but occasionally sixth graders that have access to things older children do might experiment with drugs or alcohol. Thoughts about death or suicide or talking about it. So we'll talk a little bit here in a few about suicide risk, just kind of briefly touch on that. But you might want to look for statements, or we'll even see like emojis posted on social media that kind of indicate not wanting to live or what life might be like if they weren't here and those type of things. So if you're worried that your child is depressed, we want to remind you that staying in touch with people such as your pediatrician, because that's who you can typically get in the quickest, is very important and probably more important than ever during this pandemic. If you have any concerns, ask your pediatrician's office about checking your child's social and emotional health. This can be especially important for children facing higher rates of illness or maybe at a higher risk for COVID-19, such as kids with special health concerns or healthcare needs. Pediatricians are very equipped to screen for depression, and they may ask about other concerns such as anxiety or trouble coping with stress. The doctor then, after looking at the symptoms, may even ask about symptoms of other family members, because this is a tough time for a lot of us. And that can have an impact on our child's health. Our outlook and how we're coping definitely impacts them as well. It's important to offer your teen some privacy to talk with their pediatrician or a mental health professional during a visit to ensure that they have a chance to speak as openly as possible. Our kids care so much about us and our feelings that a lot of times it's difficult for them to share openly in front of us out of fear that they might worry us or make us sad or scared. It's a little bit easier for them to do that with a pediatrician or mental health professional because there's not that personal connection. There's not that fear of letting someone down or scaring them. Rest assured that pediatricians and mental health professionals are taking all types of extra precautions to make in-person visits safe during the pandemic, and many are also providing telehealth visits as well. All right, so let's talk about how supporting your child. So your pediatrician can offer guidance on the best way to support your child and help your child build some resilience. Some children or adolescents may need more time and space to express their feelings, for example, or just some gradual conversations or some other activities besides talking, such as painting or drawing, to express themselves and manage stress. And we're going to be offering tips throughout this distance learning process that typically we would offer in school to kids to learn how to cope and regulate their emotions. But most importantly, we want to help you help your kids during this time. Other kids might be more comfortable with direct conversations or activities. They may need to talk to a trusted adult about how to keep up with social connections safely, or their feelings of boredom, loss, or even guilt if they have sometimes not kept up with like physical distancing and those type of things. All right. So let's just have a word or a moment to talk about suicide, because what we do know is that the rates of suicide for both adolescents and adults increase during times of high stress. In addition to screening for depression, your pediatrician can screen for suicide risk as well and get you connected to resources quickly to help your child and keep your child safe. Remember that not everyone who considers suicide will talk about it. Not everyone who talks about suicide will act on their words. However, any talk about suicide should be taken very seriously. If you are worried about your child, it is critical to make your home safe as quickly as possible, removing weapons and ammunition from the home, securing medications in locked cabinets, keeping your ammunition and weapons in separate places and keeping them locked up, and even knives or anything of that nature. Because what we do know about kids is that they're pretty impulsive. They act pretty quickly. And a lot of times they act with emotion because their brain doesn't allow them to really think through things just yet, because it's still developing and they're still learning these skills. But most importantly, you want to seek help immediately by calling the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline or going to the ER, calling your pediatrician. You can share things with your older kids and have conversations with them about non-crisis situations and what they can do to stay mentally healthy. And you can share these text lines with them or these talk lines with them as well. It's really important that we're taking care to set the tone. So parents really set the tone in their families and their households. Expressing extreme doom or fear can affect your children. It can be challenging to stay positive when we're stressed with childcare and we're stressed with work and finances and Christmas and all these things that are weighing on us. So especially if we're struggling with our own stress. But try to stay positive and relay that consistent message that, there is a brighter future. Things have to get better, and this isn't going to last forever. It helps to set aside time to take care of yourself when possible and to seek the support that you may need for your own mental health. And if you need help finding places to take care of your own mental health, please reach out to a school counselor or a district mental health counselor, and we're happy to get you connected to those resources. You may explore some relaxation techniques such as mindfulness or yoga or stretching. Build in some downtime for the whole family where you just enjoy taking a nap or watching a movie together. We're having to get really creative about how we simply spend time together to fill that fun need that we all have that's kind of been put on hold with not being able to leave our homes and go do things in public with others socially as we did before COVID. And then finally, you just want to remember to keep those lines of communication open between you and your child. Don't hesitate to talk to your pediatrician or your school counselor or district mental health counselor about ways to help maintain your family's mental health during this challenging time. That's what we're all here for, and we are definitely all going through this together. And stay tuned, because we're going to be sharing tips about how to take care of yourself and things that your child can do as well to regulate their emotions during this difficult time. Thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions or concerns, just reach out to your child's school and they will get you in contact with the appropriate people. Thank you so much.